Aha! Stream is working. I get full round trip verification. Good morning. Apparently this is day 18 because I put the day 18 in the title. Therefore, it is day 18. There shall be no dispute. So, welcome to another week of messing around with Rust libraries. See where I left off. Everything seems to be working. I was working on full tick back front end integration. And this is not working, but this is. Right. So full tick events are getting through to egui, but not to the rest of my app. Mouse wheel doesn't work, but keyboard input works in egui. Okay. Right, I remember now. I was working on the full tick front end, or would we call it back end? I don't know. Hey there. Develop it, good morning. Is Matt, good morning. Gadam, good morning. Doing okay. Wish I had another holiday. I guess we'll clean up this stuff. Start with a clean workspace. Must have no warnings. What the heck? Loss of precision? No! Can't have that. Can't have loss of precision. Come on, man. Allow that loss of precision. Come on. No warnings. Second holiday, yeah. Yeah, only one day for a holiday. I mean, it's not bad, but could use another. Okay. Oh yeah, I saved this closures.txt that I wrote the other day because I had the thought that I could probably make a YouTube video about just about closures and about what I talked about yesterday, right? I think one of my Rust tutorials already covers this, but I'm not sure I fully delved into this concept of closures, lambdas, function objects all being the same thing and that the duality of it, right? So I'm saving that. That's good, like teaching material. Git commit. Okay, so fix warnings, save teaching material. Okay, so 0 warnings, 0 errors. 305 things we have to build. I wonder why that puts an underline there. Okay. If I remember correctly, I was in the middle of implementing the full tick integration, and then I realized that the winit integration actually does more than it should. Yeah, this stuff to do. Move these to the app. Problem is that this type is a winit type. We want the main app to be agnostic of the window integration, so I think I have to do a little bit of conversion. It's the birth of Omni 3D. That would be nice if I could work on such a thing, but no, this is just playing around with graphics libraries. But look, I got a physics engine. Boom. So if this feed input event goes and does an on event, and this is inside the egui winit integration, it actually does this conversion of events, right? I think I need to do a similar kind of thing for myself in that this this should just convert the event to an agnostic type and then send it to the app. Can we send things to the app though? What handle window event call hierarchy? From handle event comes from event loop. How come it doesn't know who calls event loop? Oh, because probably it's behind a trait, so I have to what? Find all references? Find all implementations? Aha. Then how do we, I guess, we do. How do I find the callers? I expected this to show callers. So would I have to type it here myself? There it is. We don't give it the app sender, but I think we should. Because I think I want the app to, or maybe a third closure is what it needs. Like event factory, right? The redraw, resize, bye. And resize is an event though, right? Maybe what I do is I morph these into like one factor that handles all events. And redraw and resize are just two possible events. Redraw factory. I think I can do that, right? Except for the return type is an instant for a redraw. Probably because in here, or redraw, or for the event loop. Yeah, we expect a next draw. Cat sitting on my stuff. The cat's sitting on my computer stuff. Teacher, like, I need to set up some spots where she can stand or sit by the window without sitting on power supplies. Okay, so oh, you're back. I'll leave this for now. Go back here and yes, tap things. By the window? Okay, fine. So yeah, go ahead and sit on my power supply again. Yeah, that'll totally be okay. Distracted by cat. What do I want to do here? Add another factory? This goes directly into the app, yeah, so I don't need a sender. Change resize. I'm torn between changing resize factory to like broaden its scope and having a third thing. Because resize is just one kind of event, right? The resize is just one kind of event. But we can have mouse input. It's this stuff I want to move and back into the app. It all kind of comes from the same thing, right? So Okay, I think I convinced myself. We're going to rename this. Resize factory is going to be event factory, event handler factory. Okay, and then we'll have an event. So there's an event. Handle event. Event. Need to have an event type. Oh, we put it here. Don't know if it needs to be public. It does because it's going to be imported by the window integrations. So the first event that we'll have is a resize. Okay, I just need to check it is U32. Okay. All right, and then here then event goes here. And then we would do a match event. Event resize with width and height. Let's go handle event resize with height. Itself width U32, height U32. There we go. Self dot. Okay, so the this type needs to change to event, right? And then main needs to expect that. So event loop needs to take boxed function object that can accept an event. Yeah, let's make this clearly an app event. Okay. Actually, that can be imported because I'm importing other things from the app, right? Use app. Yeah, okay. That can just be imported from the app. All right. When w init takes an app. This one I should say app event. Okay, so our resize needs to be changed to handle event. Let's be more specific here. So this is really handle w init event, right? And we turn it into a redraw or a handle event. So yeah, I'm inclined to combine redraw and handle event together. And except for the return value of an instant. That's the thing that's holding me back. Because other events aren't going to return an instant, are they? I guess it could be an optional instant. I mean, conceivably, other events could ask for a redraw immediately, right? Yeah, maybe. Anyway, just change this to event. This is a handle event. let's be more specific here. It's handle app event. And this is an app event. Okay, and then handle app event goes there. Handle app event. App event. Okay, and then all we need to do here is put app event resize, and we know the width and the height. These guys. Oh, I have two of them. Inner size, height, and width. All right, and then full tick host. Handle, handle, app, event. Import app from the crate. That is ambiguous, isn't it? Because we have full tick app. App coming from, yeah, well, and clean this up a little bit later. Anyway, for now, app event resize. Okay. Just two warnings now. Let's fix them. This warning. Consider adding a semicolon. Done. Back in the app. Consider taking a reference. What's the call hierarchy here? I mean, I guess so. Sure. There. Oh, now we have an error. Okay, I don't like that. Let's have it. It's going to consume the event. Deal with it, rather. Needless pass by value is suppressed. Allow it. Done. Okay. Make sure I didn't break anything. We'll try full take first, then winit. Then I gotta move all the other events into the app and do some translation. Okay, we're looking good. Winit, or I could just hit nothing. So I should have tested the resize though. Resize is the main thing that we changed, right? Test the winit, full tick resize. Yeah, okay, we're good. Check this in. This is refactor, resize into app event handler. All right, and then next, I think here's where we add more events, right? So app event. Why am I not seeing it? Here it is. It's way at the top. So what are my events? So there's resize, there's mouse or pointer. Let's just call it mouse. I like mouse. Mouse down. Mouse up. And mouse drag, right? Or mouse move. A drag is implied if there's a mouse down followed by a mouse move, right? And then there's key down. Actually, I'm not using keys right now. I'm only using that, and I'm using mouse wheel. Delta I32. Okay. Right, so then we just expand our match arms here. Is it giving a whole line for X and Y? Anyway, now I start to move the stuff from WInit, right? From handle window event. In this to-do area. So yeah, now it's input, right? Pressed, released. So I'm gonna take these and copy them. Go over to the app and paste them. Paste. Let's mouse down as that. So we'll get rid of this and this right here. Move this part down, delete that. Paste, save. Okay, getting there. Don't need this part, right? So yeah, do I want to record the device ID? I'm not gonna care right now. I'm not gonna care about that. Drag anchor. Okay. So we gotta move drag anchor. And looks like we don't need this app message drag start anymore. We can just move the handler of that right there, right? Yeah, I have a handle message drag start I can use. And paste. Hey, Cranky Code. I've been using Rust a long time, but do you find it relatively unreadable compared to other languages? No, I think it's very readable. What parts do you find unreadable? Maybe I can address them specifically, like how I read them. Especially coming from C, C++, I just learned to recognize match as like a switch. And value arrow is like a case, right? Fn is like is a function. This pattern tells me whether the function is or that it's a method and whether it is constant or not. And we can do more than C and C++. So we can actually have functions which consume self rather than just are constant or not. So I kind of think of it like I took the knowledge I had already of C and C++, and I recognized an alternative syntax for that, and then I expanded upon it. The match isn't bad, but it seems like Rust gets like methods and methods and methods, and you end up with these giant ass combinations. It could be that the code you're looking at just isn't well structured. I know when I first write Rust code, it's very ill structured. So one sign of bad structure is your file is just too long, or your functions are just too big. So you turn on Clippy, and Clippy will tell you if your functions are too big. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you that your modules are too long. Like 1,000 lines is too long. I think anything over like 800 lines is too long. You need to break things up. So when you just have endless function after function, needs to be refactored. So I'm guilty of that, just like anyone. So do you mean like certain kinds of methods, where like some people will structure Rust code really in a convoluted way, and especially if they start like carrying through borrows from one structure to another, and then and they don't name their lifetimes with anything useful. They just use like A or B. That, I think, means the names aren't chosen very well, and also the design is too convoluted. But that's not exclusively a Rust problem. You could have that in any language. I guess I would say that maybe Rust is easier to write convoluted code in by accident. And it's not Rust's fault. It's that the programmer needs more discipline. Or maybe the code was just written for the person who wrote it, and they didn't care about other people reading it. And sucks to be you if you have to read it. I don't know. Don't know what to say. What happened here? I just have an extra brace there. Okay, I need to find out what this position type. Okay, so we need to put into a vector. Oh, it's F64. So I should probably go back to my event type and make them F64s. I wonder if I can just. I'm thinking, should I put vector2 directly into the type of the message or the event? Like make that a vector 32, a vector2 of F64s, or what? I suppose I can. So then, because then we can simplify this down to this, right? I don't know I don't know if that's simplification though. Here's where I get indecisive, right? I don't really know exactly. So I'm gonna guess this also needs to be an F64. Since your experience with C, C++, do you often feel like Rust code compared to, say, C++ is 25% more verbose to do the same things? No, I think it's the other way around. I think C++ is more verbose than Rust. Rust is actually very compact, and that might be one reason why people find it harder to read. Because C++ can be extremely verbose when you declare a class. Then you have to have the constructor, and then you have to have the copy constructor, and then you have to have the move constructor, and then you have to have the move assignment operator, and then you have to have the copy assignment operator. And if you don't want them, then you mark them equals delete. So you don't need to do any of that in Rust. It's like a lot more compact. Something is either copy or it's not copy. It's you can move things, or move is implicit. It's all. So maybe certain areas you might see Rust code more verbose, but I have the sense that it's the other way around most of the time for me. Granted, like I might be looking at different kinds of code, but my Rust code tends to be like when I'm done refactoring, like a lot more condensed than the C++ equivalent of it, because C++ has these has this boilerplate over that you have to like add everywhere. Sure, you can give an example. The perfect example is if you had the same code side by side, Rust and C++. We could break it down. All right, so I gotta change this. So this becomes position, right? Like you want to write a function that took all types of integers. So what, a generic function? I feel like you had to write a crap ton of boilerplate for that case. Well, there is one weakness that Rust has about generic integer types. there isn't a common trait for it in the language or in the standard library. You have to go to, what is it? There's some crate that you have to go to get a trait that all integers share. It's possible. I do that all the time. I'll write it wrong, come back the next day and think, oh, let me approach it from a different perspective. Okay, now it's easy. You'll know when you wrote it right when it looks nice, no matter what language, right? I mean, there are. I have to admit, there are things that are hard to write in some languages, but and code that's generic on integer types is one of them. In fact, I have an example here I can show. It is in the fact that I had to have. We don't need to see that. I had to have a utility to extend vectors and quaternions. What was it? Upcast? This wasn't it. Where was it that I had to do this? I had to do some kind of weird number types. Well, I can't remember. It's got to be. Was it even in this project? Maybe it wasn't here, but like, yeah, it wasn't here. It was some other project. I had to have like some weird traits that were generic or something like that because I wanted to have the types of the integers be generic. So you might have run into the similar problem. There is no common trait for integers. There's no like trait integer that you'd expect, right? You'd expect to have some kind of trait integer that would have some function add like x integer, y integer, and gives you an integer, right? Better yet, you might have like three things like x, y, and z, and they all where they're all integers, right? Like fully generic in all three dimensions, right? So three different integer types that you can add them and get something else out where they're all possibly different types, right? So there's two things about that. One is there is no integer trait in Rust, which is sort of a weakness because there are lots of places where you really don't care about the actual precision. You just want anything that can fit there to work. The other problem is that this kind of weakens the rules about types. It's basically saying like it doesn't matter what these two types are as long as they're some kind of integer, we should be able to add them, right? Well, that's not always true. You could like it doesn't make sense to add two signed integers and get an unsigned result because there's a space of values for which that it doesn't hold, right? So yeah, you might have run into one of those issues. Yeah. Okay, so I can admit that that's maybe a weakness of Rust, that the type system is so strict and so exact that like I've already like I'm showing you here, I have a mixture. Sometimes I have 64-bit floats and sometimes I have 32-bit floats. Here's an example where like sometimes I had coordinates as a tuple and I wanted to get them into a vector, and so I had to actually I made this and hid it away inside my utilities to do it for me. So there are just some kind of conversions between types which Rust just doesn't support. And this vector is not in Rust, it's in a crate, like a third-party crate, but even there, like that crate didn't support going from a tuple to a vector. And it sort of irked me, right? Like, shouldn't it figure it out? Logically, it makes sense. Why can't it do that? And it's not that much code, but they didn't have it, right? So it's because the type system is so strict. You have to like open the holes where you need them. Another thing that bothers you is the lack of default values. Oh, default values for arguments? I think that's a philosophical choice. because one could argue that by allowing a default, now you actually have two functions, one that takes the value and one doesn't, and the one that doesn't fills in a default value that you have to look up somewhere else, right? You could write that. You could get around that. So let's just use this file as an example. So you have your foo x I32, right? And then you can have a function foo food for default, which just calls foo 5. There you go. I added your default for you. It's just a little bit, a couple extra lines, an extra function call. But I think this will get optimized away, right? It'll just, whenever you call food, it'll insert a default value of 5 for that. It's only gross because you kind of maybe used to other languages where you can provide a default there. But it's just a particular philosophical choice of the language designers. And there are arguments for and against, I guess. And I would guess that the reason why you can't have default values for arguments has something to do with the type system in Rust and how the compiler selects functions based on names. But I don't know exactly. Biggest problem is you mostly program Python, right? So Python is a very loosely typed language. Rust is a very strongly typed language. So you're always going to have that mismatch of what you're accustomed to, and now you're thrown into a different environment, right? I mean, you'd have the same problem if you were mostly programming in JavaScript, and then you went to Rust. You'd feel that same shock of, what? I can't just be loose with my types? No, Rust is very strict. You'd have the similar shock if you go from Rust to Python. You'd be in Python saying, like, how do I describe my types? Python says, like, I don't give you a way to do that. You just put whatever you want. You're like, oh, I can't be exact with my types. Where's my type algebra, right? Like the type safety would get, but just give you defaults. I'm wondering if you could make a clever macro to do it for you. Like Python is better than JS? I have a friend who streams on Twitch who would probably time you out for doing that, but I'm not going to do it. His philosophy is that when you go down into X is better than Y, and we're talking about programming languages or mostly anything in general, now you start to get into language like language wars, and the conversation sort of devolves. I kind of think of it as, sure, Python is better than JS in some contexts, but there are other contexts where it's not true. JS is better than Python. It really depends on context. Kind of like trying to think of an analogy. A teaching style, one teaching style being better than the other, might be true for some students, but not others. And you really need to know who you're teaching and how they learn to know what teaching style is best. Did you really clean your Python all up using the new type hints? Does that actually help the Python compiler, or is it just documentation for the developer? Like, does it actually change the bytecode that gets generated? Or does it add extra runtime stuff to check? Like TypeScript adds stuff to JavaScript for that, right? But I always felt like, for example, TypeScript isn't really a different language. It's just adding like decorations on top of JavaScript. And I never really got a sense of, does it really change the language and add types to it, or is it just documenting the types? And then you can still get around it. Notice something on my keyboard, like it looked like a burn mark, but I think it's actually dust. To possibly get someone's feedback on what to improve in your portfolio website. I'm not the best person to ask about portfolio websites. I'm the one usually asking other people what to do about my portfolio website, so don't ask me. You can totally still run the code and ignore it in your IDE. It'll give you lint and type errors. Python. Yeah, so it kind of makes me think that it's for you, not really for the compiler. Whereas in a strongly typed language, especially Rust, the type system heavily influences what the compiler can do. Like it can totally like reduce a lot of things down to like there's only one combination of types that works, and so you can optimize away a lot of things. Whereas if it was an equivalent in C++, you'd have like this proliferation of template instantiations, and because the compiler doesn't really know at runtime if you're going to use them or not. We can help each other. I don't think so. I think this is sort of a waste of your time to be here, Shinigam. I can't help with portfolio websites. I'm really not that great at making websites, and I'm not sure how you can help me because you haven't said that. What can you do? How can you help me? I'm just playing around with Rust libraries today. Your dream language would be Python syntax with a strongly typed language. Design tips. I'm not designing anything, Shinigam. So I don't need tips. Sorry. So Cranky Code, have you thought about designing your dream language? Because I used to do language design because it was fun. You can pick up a parser and a lexer and actually try to prototype your language. And then maybe, like when I would do that, I'd run into like the underlying explanations of why certain syntax is there. It's like, oh, we had to put a curly brace there because if it's not, it's actually ambiguous what the code means. Is it a function or is it a lambda, for example? Oh, that's why we have that extra character there, right? And then if you're talking about the type, what do you call it? Like the type system, like actually trying to implement a language with a strongly typed thing, but with Python syntax, you might learn, oh, well, that kind of makes it hard to do certain things, or maybe that makes other things easier. So yeah, why not? Why not just try to prototype it? You're actually thinking about doing that, or just looking at LLVM, but well, start with something easy. I don't know if LLVM is that easy. I took a class in college on compilers, and I actually still have the Dragon book. And we can actually probably find it if we just do a web search for compiler Dragon book. There we go. Yeah, this one. Compilers, Principles, Techniques, and Tools. Great book if you want to learn about the elemental stuff with compilers and designing a language. And I'm sure there's like online versions of this, but that's like the go-to book, at least for people my age. There might be something newer that's better. But it'll run you through like how to do lexical analysis, like turn these characters into tokens, and then from the tokens how to construct a syntax, and then how to emit, like how to basically pull together code that follows the token sequence to actually do what the tokens are saying to do. Yeah, there we go. Write a lexer in Python. So lexers are a lot easier than parsers. So lexer is just saying, oh, these 5 characters go together. These 2 next to it means something else, and these mean something else, and it's like name, separator, name, and then that's what the lexer outputs. And then the parser says, oh, when we see name, separator, name within the context of a match, this is probably the variant of an enum. So there's a lot of contextual stuff in Rust, but like other languages you might have like the word case here. Oh, obviously then this is the value and it has to match the type of this expression, right? Stuff like that. That's what a parser would do. Start with a lexer. Lexers are really easy. It's just recognizing that that's one token. There's another one. There's another token. The dot means that there's a separator, and then, oh, look, here's another token. That's all it knows. Writing lexing Python type syntax. Well, lexer is just creating tokens. It has nothing to do with syntax. I think you might be conflating the terms lexer and parser. You mean parsing the syntax is hard, right? Unless I'm getting my terms mixed up, a lexer is just turning things into tokens. Lexer. Lexical analysis, the conversion of text into lexical tokens. So yeah, it's just recognizing like the nouns, like the names. Verbs would be like the operators, right? We're not talking about syntax at that point. Tokenizing the white space is harder? You mean like that a new line is also a separator between statements in Python because you don't have semicolons? I can see that, yeah. A little harder. Maybe start with something easier. Invent a language where your lexer is simpler. Okay, I don't have drag anchor yet, but I have these positions now set up. So let's find where I put drag anchor up here somewhere, right? Yeah. These now move, right? Dragging becomes a Boolean because we don't care about device ID. We have a drag anchor though. So I gotta move that into the self. Alright. I have a feeling that Shinigami has left to find a better stream, and that's a good thing, because I don't really have, it's not really my expertise at all what they're looking for. Drag anchor, that type is correct. Actually, do I need dragging if drag anchor remembers whether or not we have one? I could argue that drag anchor also serves to tell us if we're dragging or not. You don't want his help? No, I didn't want design tips. I'm not doing design work. But you're joking, right? So drag anchor starts off as none. Okay, what's wrong with this type? Probably that it is not a reference. Same here. Not a, well, but I could turn that into a reference. Turn that into a reference, sure. Okay, and then I don't care about the drag device. It really becomes an if self.drag anchor is something, right? Then we set it to none. If we're gonna set it to none, then we can just take and ask if it is if it was something. Okay, this drag stop, we're gonna move what that does here. Oh, I already had a look drag start. Okay. So we're just moving that then. Down to here. Zoop. So we didn't need the position at all. Put an underscore in front. Okay, so then that was mouse down, mouse up. So back here I can, where I had the original mouse down, mouse up, right here, I turned this into a message, a calling of the app handle app event. That's what it is. So pressed becomes app message mouse. How come it's not? Oh no, it's not app message. It's app event. And we're gonna have to import that event as app event. See you, cranky code. Or f event mouse down. When you construct a position. Okay, so that's a vector 2. So I can do an into, right? I can just make an array, and the array will have our position. So that's actually that's all inside of this, right? Because we have to have a positions to get it. So that's position. What's position here? Or already is a vector too. Perfect. So I don't need to do an into. I just put position. Excellent. So then I don't need this dragging or drag anchor. We're going to delete them. Still need the positions because this thing has multiple like device IDs. I guess you can have multiple mice or something, and I don't really care about that. Okay, the problem here is that it found a reference and needs a struct, so can I just dereference? I can't. For the dragging and drag anchor, we don't need to send anything because now it's an app event. Cool, so then we have the same thing here, right? Not exactly. I think we just repeat and we say that it's a mouse up. Okay, there we go. Fix the errors. Don't need to initialize what we don't have. Cursor moved. Wait. Oh, right. That's a new, that's another app event. We don't have that yet. This position, what type is it? Physical position F64? Okay, so that's why we had to convert it to that type. Insert it. Yeah, then don't we just call app event mouse move? Mouse move. I don't need to do any of this stuff, right? We let it handle whether or not we're dragging. There's no dereference because it's not a reference. Okay. It's got warnings. What are the warnings? Okay, we're not using that yet. Not using that yet. Dot dot, right? Because we're not using it yet. No comma. Just fixing all the warnings. Right, we don't have these messages anymore. Delete them. So we don't need their handlers anymore. But I do need this. That's going to be moved to where we handle an event. Handle event. This mouse move where I have this to do. Paste it there. Distance. Oh, that was it had to do with the drag anchor, right? Where did I do that calculation? Back here, I guess? Yes, here. I need that. Actually, I need all of this. Well, not, I need this line and I need this line, sort of. Let's just grab them all. Go back here and paste. So it's like, I don't have a device, it's more of like a position, right? It's like drag anchor. If some drag anchor equals self drag anchor, don't need that. Then the distance is position minus the drag anchor. And then if we have some start position, then yeah, there we go. Fixed it. Okay, so then don't need this anymore. Don't need those. I already copied those parts. Huh. So sorry, distracted by something else. I have to keep note of the time because at around 9:25ish, I got to start winding down. Save here. Oh no, I'm going to delete all this, right? Yeah, this. What happened here? Yeah, I need that handle app event. We don't need this code. Okay, so this should just continue to work with W in it, at least. Make sure it didn't break it. Always check that you didn't break things while you're refactoring. And it's broken. That's not broken, but this is broken. Completely broken. Mouse wheel, I didn't change that yet. So I broke, oh, I can click. I can click the cube, but I can't click and drag anymore. So clicking works, because I can click that cube there. I can kick that cube if I wanted. Add another one. I can kick that one. Click that one, I can kick it. But dragging isn't working. All right, so what broke drag? Mouse down, mouse up, mouse. Oh, that's it. This is not mouse up, it's mouse move. That would do it. We need a mouse move, not a mouse up. The word cursor kind of confuses me a bit. I guess it is the cursor. There we go, I fixed it. Cool. Didn't break anything else. Just broke that. I guess I want mouse wheel next, right? Still need that. That does some translation, but that gets replaced with something similar to mouse move, right? Becomes mouse wheel. With a delta. And I'm kind of thinking maybe we just put the F64 in there. And shouldn't that be a vector to be consistent with that? It would just be a different type. Yeah, so I think we don't really need a name for the thing in the mouse wheel event. That's sort of like obvious that that's delta. So simplify. Okay, and then that means we don't need an app sender anymore. Woohoo! Don't need an app sender anymore, so we don't need to initialize it, which it's going to say then I no longer need to have it passed into new. So we delete that. So we're following all of the things we can remove now. So we need to clone the app sender there, pass it in. Awesome. Okay, so back in the app. We don't have the Zoom message. So what we used to do in the Zoom message is now what we do in the mouse wheel event. Handle event, mouse wheel, paste. So that's delta now, right? It's like this delta. Doesn't need to be dereferenced because we own it. All right. We don't have a zoom anymore. Delete that. Now we just have two warnings to fix. We don't need it. We don't have sender anymore. We don't have message anymore. Cool. Make sure mouse wheel didn't break. Then what I can do is I can like do the full tick version of that. So mouse wheel changes the FOV for us, right? Yep. Cool. By the way, cube explosion. You've been watching and you're like, what the heck is he working on? It's really just a playground integrating different Rust libraries together just so I can get used to these libraries and how to use them. So we're using Rapier as a physics engine to kind of simulate like these cubes blowing up and falling around and bouncing and all that stuff. I'm using egui for the graphical user interface stuff, so like sliders, um, button, another button, these readouts for like our FPS, stuff like that. And we're using wgpu for overall the graphics, both drawing our own graphics and then drawing the graphics that egui constructs for us. And we're using winit or fulltick or SDL2 for the window manager interface. So the window itself is made by winit, or if I run the program differently with fulltick, now the window is a fulltick window, which we haven't finished integrating together, so I can't click and drag this, but we do have the sliders working and the buttons are working. Just don't have like mouse click and drag or mouse wheel working for the main window. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions, especially if chat is like very quiet and everyone's sort of lurking. If you have any questions, let me know, because now's the time when I'm not having to deal with a ton of chat and missing messages and all that stuff. All right, so let's do mouse down and up next. That's here, right? This to do. I think we just do a match on the event, right? Doesn't feed input event tell us if it was actually consumed? Something tells us, right? Oh, I did here. Right. Yeah, so there's one problem in that if we push or release the mouse, we don't know if egui wanted the mouse press or not. Yeah, so I wanted to have this return a boolean saying whether or not the event was actually consumed by egui. So let's just say for now that this is true, else false. This would be false. This is the button we don't care about. Move or drag is always true. Key down is always true for now. This is always false. Okay, and then going back, the caller of on event right here means, okay, there's a cat chewing on my foot. Would you like to see the cat chewing on my foot? Here, kitty. Chewing on your foot. You have given consent to be seen on camera. Look at this kitty chewing on my foot. Why are you chewing on my foot? You want attention? Want pets? She wants pets. She also wants to eat my foot. Can't blame her, she's a cat. Feed input event. Right, so I don't know why I had, oh right, because this is separated between, there's an interior mutability. This is just like a wrapper around it, so we just remove the semicolon. Okay, so then where is that called? Here. Exactly, so it's like let handled equals that, and then what's the false for? Oh, that's telling, that's what this guy wants, right? Fulltick wants to know if we handled the event. So if not handled, then we see, do we handle it? Someone asked you, what's the ninth letter of the alphabet? It was a complete guess, but I was right. Ninth letter of the alphabet. It was a complete guess, but I was right. Okay, that took. I had to actually count, Mr. Balrog. That's how bad I am at knowing my letters. I was right. Yes, it was a complete guess. How are you doing? Mr. Balrog is Twitch's very own joke king. King of jokes. Just finishing off the workday, and I haven't even started yet. My workday doesn't even start for another hour and a half. Okay, if not handled, then we're going to match on it. And there are lots of events. So the event type here, I think we only care about push and released. Oh, I already wrote this code, didn't I? I remember writing this. Where did I write it? I wrote it somewhere. Is it down here? It was down here somewhere. Around here. Well, there's the virtual key code translation. There it was. Did it here. Oh, what happened? Where was that? Right here. On event. Right, this translated it for egui. We need to translate it for the app now. So I can just copy this. Makes me think that there should be two on events. Like on event for egui and on event for... Actually, why don't I put it... Can I put it in both places? Feed event. That goes through the integration layer. That goes there. Nah, we're going to do something different. It's going to be very similar, but it's for a different purpose. In fact, I don't need the key downs for now. I only need the mouse moves and I need a mouse wheel, right? We're just going to copy that. Paste. I need to have like an underscore case that does nothing. Let's have it return whether or not it gets handled, and then we can get rid of the false at the end. Okay, so save. We have a big ol'... Ah, I see, because we want to return here. So if handled, return. Well, if handled true, else, then we match the event to find what we're going to return, right? Probably, I'm probably going to get warned by Clippy that there's an easy way to do that. Anyway, we don't have a pointer position. Do I need a pointer? No, I don't need a pointer. I do need a pointer position, don't I? Or do I? Can I just get the pointer position from the move? Let's see if I can. Not from the move, but from the event coords, right? Can I just get the event coords myself up here? Then I don't need this if. And we always return true. Okay, so do I care about this points per pixel or whatever? I don't think I do. And I don't need an egui position either, right? It's vector. And these are 64s. And what else? Actually, are they already 60? No, they're I32s to begin with. There's no precision loss, right? Don't think there is that. We need to import. Right, so you don't construct them like that, right? You do this and that, I think. Oh, right, do new. Expected a function call. Okay, and then we get if it's pressed, right? Don't I only care for left clicks right now? So hold on, let me think about this. Maybe I don't care what the mouse button is. So maybe I just delete this for now. Okay, but ultimately we're gonna do handle app event, right? App event, which we haven't imported yet, so let's do it now. App event as app event. Okay. Mouse down. Yeah, let's split it. So that's position. Don't need this stuff. True. So then I'm going to split this. This might be a bad idea, but I'm going to split it for now. So that push and release are separate, and then I can say mouse up here. Thing is that there's this common boilerplate, right? But I'm wondering if I can move that out of the match event. Because event chords we can call for everything, right? Okay, so can I just like move that out there and then get rid of this? And then it's actually a lot simpler, right? I don't need that. There's no precision loss. Then I don't need this junk either, so yeah, this is all gone. In fact, this just becomes a mouse move, right? What's this resize callback thing? Oh, right. We moved app event. We need to copy app event needs to be shared. Oh, can we share that? We can't when it's in the box, but I think if I move it into an RC, we can. So let's do that. So before we split, we're going to share it. So let that equal RC new that. And then it doesn't need to be mutable anymore because we're just moving it into there. And then I have to like make a clone of the reference. Double click is supposed to select so that I can do a copy. All right. Cannot borrow data in RC is mutable. Wait, is that marked as mutable? Is marked as mutable. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Okay, we can handle this. We just need to use interior mutability. The escape hatch for the lazy. And then just whenever I use it, I have to borrow it. So we just do this. Borrow mute. And then down here we do it again. Borrow mute. Ugh, ugly. It is not declared as mutable. Well, we can declare it as mutable right here. No. Or do we declare it as mutable? We'll do it right here. Okay, so I did get a precision thing. Oh, it's a lossless. Yeah, well, we don't care about that. So allow that. Cool. Let's try it. Why are you taking box self? I have a good reason for that. Let me try to remember what it was. Okay, well, click and drag still doesn't work. Clicking doesn't work either. Well, it's broken. But let me explain the box self. So it gets called by the app, right? Hold on, let me find it. In the no, it's called even further out in the main. Yeah, here it is. Um, so the app is borrowed to construct these factories. Okay, that's not why. Hold on, I'm still trying to remember why. I'll get there. I think it's inside here. No, it's a box self window box. Ah, that's why. Because the actual type is erased here. Spoof. I either make a winit host winit window, or I make a full tick host full tick window. Both of them implement the abstract window trait, and so I erase their types, making them a trait object, right? Once you do that, because it's been erased and put onto the heap, it's in the box. And I believe that to call a method on a boxed object, there was a reason I had to make this a box up. Maybe I discovered by removing that and see what happens. There's a reason. It had to do with, like, when I do that, it starts to break. Or maybe it doesn't, and maybe I just fooled myself into thinking it had to be a boxed self. Hold on, we'll learn, right? Mutable self. Can you not do that? Patterns aren't allowed in functions without bodies. What? Oh, because that is up to the implementation to decide whether it needs to mutate it or. Hey, maybe I didn't need it to be a boxed self at all. Nope, we have an error in main. This is probably the error will probably explain why it needs to be boxed. Cannot move a value of type dyne abstract window. The size of dyne abstract window cannot be statically determined. So that's the reason why. Moving self into a trait method makes the trait no longer object safe, but borrowed reference to self should work. Problem is it can't borrow the window because event loop doesn't return, I think, right? No, it does return. So maybe, oh, I can't, no, I can. Window can be, okay, maybe this would have worked with a mutable reference. I don't know, let's see. Then I didn't need to have a box self to begin with. No, we're running into the can't move because it's behind the right. I tried to split the window out of the app and I can't do that. Is this why? The same problem here. Borrowed data escapes outside of method. Self escapes the method here. Redraw is declared there. I think that's, there we go. We're running into it, I think. Take the event loop out of self. So basically, we need to break self apart between the event loop and what we're giving the event loop. I can't move out of self if we only have a mutable reference. So it has to own self. It can't own self when its type is erased because it doesn't know its own size. So it has to be boxed. Yeah, so it's like a roundabout explanation about why, but ultimately it's because self, the event loop is actually in the window. And the event loop, the way WNIT works, the event loop actually needs to be separate because we need to pass self, the rest of self into the event loop. Yeah, it's messy. You also use something like arc self or RC self. Thing is, I didn't need to share the window. The window needed to like own itself in order to split the event loop out of it. If that makes sense. Undo. Yeah, sorry it took me a while to remember why we had to do that. That probably means I should write a comment somewhere about why we're boxing the self in the first place. We can say that here, right? I can say we're boxing self to give the implementation the freedom to own itself through a trait method. Sometimes you can circumvent that kind of stuff by just splitting the structs further apart and separate the ownership of the different members. Well, the problem is that we don't know the implementation at this point. We just know we want to call the event loop on it. And we don't know if it's going to need to be broken apart because we don't actually know what's in it, right? It's abstract. From the point of view of the main, when main calls event loop, it doesn't know if the window is some abstract type that's been erased, right? It doesn't know what the implementation is going to need. So could we do that by maybe having another layer of indirection? Maybe this self, this WNIT window could have two things in it, the event loop and then everything else. And then we break it apart in the first call. I would still run into the same problem of that we can't do a self here, right? It's going to tell me that the size is not known, right? Well, it's telling me a different thing now because the type doesn't match. But you remember the error we were getting when I tried that? It said something like the size of self is not known because it's through a trait, right? So it has to be a reference, a box, or an RC, but it can't be owned because the size is unknown at the call point. Something like that, right? Yeah. Anyway, this didn't work and it should have worked. So let me try to find out why. Maybe the handled is always returning true. Oh, you're right. It is, right? Because I didn't bother to, I'm always returning true here. We only want to do this if it's actually asking for window events. So shouldn't I have something like if egui, right? Where is it? The context, right? Self dot. We don't have access to it. Shoot, I need access to that context, right? Where is that context? Is it in this one? Here it is. So maybe I need to pass that in when we call from here, right? We call feed input event. Self egui context. So then feed GUI gets the context. So it doesn't need the reference, it can just borrow it. Back up here, we can borrow it. What are we having a trouble with? Probably the move. So yeah, we can't get the self. We have to actually make a reference for it. Yeah, like I did with this stuff. So let that equal that dot clone, remove the self dot in front, and do that. Back in business. So let's just forward it along. Forwarding it to the inner. Okay, so now we have the context available, and I can ask it, hey context, is using pointer. Why don't we just do a let? It's like, if no, I have to just invert this, right? If it's not, then return false. Early return, right? I can actually clean this up a little bit, right? We can do let that else return false. That new let syntax, right? And then we can just delete that and then unindent. This syntax is relatively new. It's kind of like a guard in Swift. It's basically saying like we had better be able to get some position from self pointer position, otherwise return false early. And then if we fall through, then we still have pointer position within scope. So it's sort of weird in that it binds it for the outer scope. Whereas most of the time when you have like an if let, it's only for the inside. Is it in scope? And this, it's like it's inverted. It's valid for the rest of the enclosing scope. If you're familiar with the guard in Swift, then it's the same thing. It's like saying we had guard let something else something. Yeah, it's like, kind of like the same thing, only without the keyword guard in front. Let's see if that fixes it. So now it'll only like consume the event for egui if egui asks for it. Now, okay, the click works, but the click and drag still doesn't work. Didn't I break that before? It was because I wasn't calling move on move. Yeah, so it's because we're always doing true, right? So I need the same thing, I think, down here. Probably should fix that pixels per point thing. Oh, I fixed it. Yay, look at that. Need to get the mouse wheel now. Okay, mouse wheel. Is mouse wheel. What is mouse wheel here? Mouse wheel. There you are. So this go to its collar, right? Yeah. And then that one's collar. Event loop. Okay, and then can I do the same thing here? Like, can I just say return? Just do an early return and get rid of the else? Just because I don't like how indented that is. Yeah, that's much better. So this is what we're doing, so I can get rid of the to-do, right? Well, let's get rid of the to-do when I'm finished. It's right here, right? Mouse wheel, but I need this in front. Ah. Okay, just need to get the delta. And I don't know how to do that. think I might have to go to the manual for that. Yep, we're going to have to consult the Book of Armaments. Mouse wheel. There's actually a variant to it. Oh, that's the direction. It says, okay. Here we go. I've stumbled upon it. I think I want to vent dy, don't I? And it'll just give us a movement direction. Okay, but how do I get the magnitude of it? Or do I get the magnitude of it? I don't know. The problem is that full tick is a C++ library, and so the wrapper doesn't have a whole lot of documentation in itself. It's gonna be one of these event things, right? Look here, maybe? Handling events, mass events, wheel. Down is positive, returns the current vertical mouse scrolling as an int. Okay, but then they just gave it, they turned it into an enum with no magnitude. So the magnitude's missing. Why would dy return the horizontal scrolling? The docs are just wrong? You think so? Well, I think it's just a clumsy type mapping, right? They're returning a subset of the variance of mouse wheel. Looks like internally they get an integer, but they just compare it to 0, and if it's greater than 1, we get down. If we get less than 1, we get up. So the magnitude's not available. So then I guess we just keep it simple. So it's, what do we call it again? Full tick app event dy equals full tick. Hey, it's Chad B. Noob with the party of 8. Hello. Okay, let's demonstrate what I'm working on, shall we? You were maybe peeking and seeing what I was doing before you raided, but here, let me give you a walkthrough. So I'm doing a lot of stuff in Rust because I like working on with Rust programming language during my hobbies, which I stream. And I just want to learn more about certain libraries that are available, third-party libraries that you can use with Rust. And some of them are graphics engine. So, I can't do that. Okay, hold on. That's broken, so I have to switch to a different backend. Okay, graphics or physics engine. So we have motion, we have rigid bodies, we have colliders, and all that good stuff. The graphics is yet another library, and then this GUI is a third library. So lots of different libraries, third party, that I didn't write, but are available for download really easily. And I'm just trying to learn how to use these libraries and how to integrate them together. So for example, the GUI library constructs the triangles to be drawn and the textures to be drawn, but doesn't actually do the drawing. You have to like use a graphics library to draw them. So we're taking stuff from egui and drawing them with wgpu. And then the physics engine will simulate the physics, but it won't actually draw it on the screen. That's up to us to like use the position, rotation, and all that from the rigid body and like map it back to a 3D model and like draw the cube, rotate it and positioned where the physics engine says to do it. So yeah, just like a playground. When I was learning how to do textures in the shader for wgpu, I'm like, what's something really simple to work with? And I just picked Minecraft shader, Minecraft textures. And I picked the grass block and the cobblestone block just to have like two different ones. So if you look back in my stream's history, like it was at first just like a triangle, and then we made a cube, and then we made a 3D cube, and it was just like using random colors, like a rainbow color stuff. And then I moved on to textures, and that's basically where I stopped, because then I moved on to like doing the physics engine, and that's just so much fun. Add 1,000 cubes at once and see the physics engine smash, like blow them apart. And yeah, just kind of moving along at however I feel like what I want to work on next. So what I'm working on today, and probably for the next few days, is like the connection between my app and the windowing system, the rest of the OS, is through a window provider. So one of them is winit. The window provider does a couple things. It connects you to the window system so you can draw a window. Gives you, connections to like when you hit the close button, it actually closes, that kind of good stuff. Whenever you click and drag in your window, those events get sent to your app. And that's basically it. I guess key presses also, a mouse wheel. It's not a whole lot of things it does for you, but you have a couple different choices. winit is one of them. A couple other ones are full tick and SDL. So I'm trying to get the full tick one working. So I have it where I can click on that cube. I can select it. But it looks like when I try to hit the button, the buttons aren't working anymore. It doesn't think that I'm actually in the egui window right here. That's a problem. So I can't interact with this anymore. Yeah, so I'm working on these bugs. So let me know if you have any questions. I will be working for another hour, and then I gotta go to work. I also have a cat over here. You want to see the kitty? There's the kitty. Right here. Looking out the window. All streamers should have some kind of pet to co-pilot while they're working. So really, I shouldn't mess with the mouse wheel stuff until I fix the move and click, right? This stuff. It shouldn't have gotten into here if egui said that it was handled. So there's some kind of problem in here, I think. Like maybe it's returning early. I wonder if that has to do with this pointer position might not be assigned because of this. Hey, 715209, how are you doing? So what if I comment this out? That might have broken it, right? Compile. Someone was asking me about compile times, and I'm like, it doesn't really bother me, but sometimes it does. Okay, that's it. Now I can interact. I can at least move the sliders around. No, I can't. The moment I click, it steals it away. But the mouse move, it knows where egui knows where I am because it's highlighting the buttons that I'm over. Click is being captured though. Why would that be? Click is being captured. Is it that? This? Maybe that is using pointer, is just not the right thing to call. Let's see. Yep, that's it. So we can interact here, but now I can't interact with the bottom pane anymore. So is using pointers not the right thing to call? Great. Okay, so what do I do? Progress on learning wgpu. I think I'm pretty happy with wgpu. So now I'm working on window manager integrations, right? I should show that. So back at the very top level in the main program, right, we select a window integration. And right now, there are two of them defined, but I do have a note to add SDL, right? So I got the W in it pretty well integrated. I'm working on full tick right now. And then someone in chat last week, I think, suggested, hey, it might be fun to get it working with with SDL also. And yeah, so that's the parts I'm working on now. The WGPU stuff, the last thing I did was what was it? I think it was getting the texture stuff to work. So a couple things I haven't done in WGPU I guess would be rendering to texture, um, more complex shaders, lighting. I'm not doing lighting, so everything is like equally lit, like noonday sun lit. I haven't done stuff like skyboxes yet. I figure though I know enough now about WGPU that for any of those things I can just kind of know where to look in the manual for WGPU to figure it out. Like I've reached that level of comfort with the library that I've moved on. Okay. Is this not the thing to call? Egui is currently using the pointer position, dragging a slider. Maybe it's this one. Once pointer input. Currently interested in the pointer. Could be the pointer's hovering or the user's dragging. Let's try this one. Once pointer input. This I think should still be is using pointer, right? Because they said that that's if we're moving or dragging, right? Dragging, but what if we haven't moved over it yet? Well, first things first. Keep that commented out so that it always gets the position. Let's see what this does. Okay, so hovering over it works. Clicking works. I can click a cube, but clicking and dragging here doesn't work. Clicking and dragging here. So the drag is always being taken, which makes sense. And I have this idea that if I just comment this back in, it'll just break somewhere else. Because it won't get that initial click position, right? See? Yeah, so I think maybe I separate move from drag. Or make this if a little bit more complex. So if it's just moving, if event equals move, and it doesn't want the pointer input, this is gonna look gross. I warned you, chat. It's gross. Not using. That's drag. That's ugly. But I think that's what we want, right? If it's a move event, we ask, do they want the pointer input? If it's a drag, it's, are you using the pointer? You get a no from either. Actually, I don't know. Is that logic correct? This might need to be an and this inverted, right? Let's say it's a move. If it's a move, but it wants the pointer input, well, that'll be a false then. One of these will be true. I think this is fine, although I hate logic that's that complicated. Oh, and it doesn't even work because I can't move over the egui anymore. So it doesn't ever want the mouse input? What? That's... But how does it know if it's hovering over it? Is that what I should be asking? Turns false if a drag started outside and then moved over. Maybe we always tell it where the pointer is, but we say that that's false. It's not completely handled. Maybe that's the right way to do it. We always tell it the pointer moved, but the clicking, it's only if it wants the input. Okay. The mouse over works. Slider works. Clicking here works. Clicking and dragging works. I think I did it, chat. Boom. Need, oh, text input works. I don't remember working on that. Did I do that yesterday? I must have. What about mouse wheel? No mouse wheel yet. Cool. Okay, that was it. So, push and release, it's only if it wants the input. Move and drag, it's always tell it, but it's never handled. It's just like peeking at the event, and but we also handle it. So yeah, where's mouse wheel again? Up here somewhere. Here it is. What happened here? Oh right, this was enums or something. Mouse drag. Okay, we don't know where it is. It is mouse wheel in the events. Event. Okay, event. Events? Okay. How do I get to this type? I guess I can go back to here and just do mouse wheel. Is it full tick app? Okay. Qualifies that. That was it? Okay, so I don't know, down. It's if it's down then it's 1, I guess. I feel like this should be moved out and we put delta here instead and we say like let delta equal if this then 1 else -1. Hate using that, but that's what it gives us, right? Then true. We always handle it. Try that out, I guess. Did you draw the textures yourself? No, I borrowed them. I actually didn't borrow them from Microsoft. I borrowed them years ago from Mojang. So you get a touchpad and left scrolls are also -1. Well, so that works, but I do have left and right thing, but it doesn't do anything. Because this actual event, where was it? I'm only looking at the event dy. And the event dy can only be an up, down, or none. I guess if we're getting a none, we're interpreting it as a down, so maybe I should do a match. Let's do a match. Match. And then for a down, this will look cleaner anyway, right? 1, and then an up is a -1, and then everything else is a 0. Actually, like what I can do for everything else is just return false. There we go, we have an escape hatch. Missing a brace there. So, if it's down 1, up -1, anything else, we escape. Ah, escape! But yeah, Betsig, you're right. I would have interpreted a left or a right as an up, I guess, because but I don't have a mouse that has a horizontal mouse wheel to test that with. So I don't really care too much. I think we're gonna say that the integration of a full tick is complete enough to give me what I need, and then move on to SDL and see if we can do it in half an hour. Maybe it's not too bad, but let's check this in. What happened in the app? Oh, right, we made new events and we got rid of old messages. Got rid of, added a drag anchor, move, removed events. Okay, so in the commit, should say finish full tick integration. Also, well, as part of this, did I actually add app event? No, I already had app event, but I added the mouse related stuff. As part of this, move mouse related app code from messages to events. If you're wondering what the heck is the difference between a message and an event, I'll try to answer that. So they look like they might be similar, right? They're like notifications to the app, right? The difference is how they arrive, and maybe I should be better with my names. But the events are arriving through a special function called handle event, or event handler. We have to provide a boxed function object that handles these events of type event, right? Right? So it's what we give to the window integration layer. Messages are, back when we do this new, we're given two ends of a pipe, the sender end and the receiver end, and we actually hold on to both, but during our new here, we're going to give, where is it? Somewhere here. It'll be where app sender, wherever that shows up. Right. When we construct the information overlay, the egui stuff, we give it the sender. So that later when it's adding content to the UI and it texts that someone clicks a button, it can use that sender to send the app back a message, because the info overlay doesn't have access back to the app. That would be a circular dependency. So we broke the circular referencing by having a pipe. So we can, from the info overlay, send back a message to the app through that pipe. And the app takes that receiver end, and I think it is during redraw we look at it. Yeah, we look at it here. We clean out the pipe here. Every time we redraw, we clean out all the messages and handle them. So anything that the info overlay gives us, we handle during redraw. Maybe better names instead of if message, it should be like message from info overlay. An event should be event, or like a window event. So hey, I can rename things, right? We can call that window event. We can call that GUI message or something, or UI message. Hey, now they're more clear. Through the power of refactoring. All right. I'm kind of curious though, did that rename it out here too? Well, no, there's this name separation here, so I'd have to change it here. I can call that oh, renaming aliases is currently unsupported. No! Okay, well, I can just select all and then do window event and then hit save and it does it for me. Except that we have two different window events. That's unfortunate. So then what? I do want to rename it, but it's app window event. Maybe I should be specific here, and this is well, that's window. I can't say window event. I guess that's specific enough. All right, probably had the same thing in full tick, right? Did it have also a window event? Well, it has full tick event. Be consistent. App window event. There we go. Well, it would be nice to rename aliases. I wonder why they don't support it. Too complicated or something? All right. Enough playing around. Whoa, what did I just do? I moved that tab down to here somehow. Move it back up here. I didn't even know you could do that. You can move. Oh, I just moved part of it? Oh crap, how do I move the whole thing back out? Do I have to move everything one at a time? Great. Yeah, move them all back. Yeah, you can go there. Grr. I moved like, I dragged an icon and it moved all the windows. There we go. Seriously though? What did I do there? Hey there, Nuffly. How are you doing? I messed up this tab now. This is gonna bug me. Like, yeah, this, I don't know what it is, but put it over there. I was doing good, Nuffly, until I just messed up my tab. I didn't know this, but you can drag an icon out from here. And when I did that, I accidentally dragged it and pasted it over here, and like, yeah, it really screwed up these things now. Well, I don't know if these were what it looked like before. Maybe this was right. And I don't know how to reset that. Would that be in like settings? User settings? Maybe it ended up encoding it in my user settings somewhere here. Don't know. I don't think so. I got a lot of like unused things. What is this? Ah, I think this might be it. I never made any of this stuff, so it probably added all this junk, right? I just delete this. Did that fix it? And it's still there. What the heck did I do? What if I undo? No, there's no undo history beyond what I did. I remember doing all this stuff. I don't know. I'd have to like look and see are the settings for like tabs and stuff. Like if I do that, where is the fact that I put it up here? Where is that stored and how do I reset that? Ah, maybe I just don't let it bother me too much. It's only a virtual machine after all, so this is refactoring. While I'm here, let's send this out of the virtual machine. Okay. So anyone who's joined recently, playing around with Rust libraries, using wgpu to draw graphics, egui to make graphical user interface elements, and rapier for physics engine. Look at that. And today I've been working with the window manager interface. So winit was working before, and then I got the full tick one working, if I could spell it correctly. So it should be no difference, but now we're using a different library to interface with the window manager. So we get different types for window events and keyboard events and all that, but it should have no effect because I have a common interface that I adapt everything to in the app, and in the egui it has its own interface for that. As long as we adapt correctly to it, it should look the same and feel the same. So that's these two host files. So it's all about translating like events from winit to egui or full-tick to egui. It's all the same thing, just translating things. Handling events from one technology to another. So with the half an hour I have left, I guess we can look into, I don't know how long this will take, but the idea was this is complete now. Someone in chat recommended we look at SDL2, right? Yet another way to interact with the Windows system. Oh, let me check something. I can go out of the virtual machine and see what do I get on that tab. Yeah, I get something totally different now. This is, I need to fix this because this is all messed up now. In the original VS Code, this just says commits. It doesn't say GL commits. The contents of the tab looks the same, but it shouldn't say GL colon. Can I just rename this? That location. Oh, did I just reset location on all these and it repairs it? Ah, we did it. We figured it out. Reset location to all these things. How do I reset the location on this though? Okay, so there's one I can't do oh, there's two I can't reset. Can't reset that one, can't reset these two. Can I even close this one? Hide it? I don't know what badge is. Show badge. I don't know what this is. Hide it. Ah, I got rid of it. Okay. I think I fixed it. Let's see. What am I missing? Any tabs? Okay, these are in the wrong order. So emits branches is missing. Is that I just need to add it? Um, there it is. So how do I get? Maybe just move that back into there. Ah, fixed it. And then move this one back into here. There we go. Tags. And then can I move that? What is that anyway? Source code repositories. Don't think I care about this one, so let's just hide it. Oh, reset location. There we go. I fixed it. Rust dependency. Oh, I'm in the wrong window. Okay. I fixed it, I think. Although I don't normally view that. Oops. How do I hide individual things here? Right click in here. Ah, there we go. Don't normally look at that one. It's source control commits, branches, and then remotes. Then stashes, tags, work trees, contributors, and repositories is usually hidden in. Okay, I think I got it back to how I'm used to it. Cool. There are two git lens tabs now? Yeah, there were for a while. And the right click when there's git lens and git lens inspect. That is one of these other ones, right? This one. I don't think I actually used that. Why don't I hide the things I don't use? Don't use that. That's source control. I don't even use git lens right these days. Let's just hide it. Bookmarks and to do. It'd be nice if it actually showed me these things. I guess there are too many tabs. Which ones don't I use? I'm not using testing. Not using. Whoop. Now it's gone. What is it? Which one did I? How do I open it again? No, how do I get it back? I don't know why I pressed. And it's gone. It's probably under here somewhere, right? Okay, I can get to individual tabs, but how do I get the tab thingy? Fighting with. Yeah, yep, that's right. I'm streaming so that you can laugh at me. That's fine. How do I get that thing back? What is it called? Not command palette. Not view. Zen mode. Oh, Zen mode. How do we get out of Zen mode? Who knows? Oh, escape got me out of Zen mode. Zen mode's kind of cool. Control KZ. Center. It's not centered layout. Secondary sidebar? No. One of these bars, right? Activity bar. Oh, it's activity bar. Remember that, chat. It's activity bar. I somehow closed activity bar while I was cleaning this stuff up. Don't need run and debug. Just the things I use now, right? Yeah, I don't even really use extensions too much. Okay, we're good now. Back to working. Okay, so let's pull in SDL2. How hard can it be? So we need to add a match arm for SDL2. So we're probably going to want to do the same thing by boxing some new thing, right? Let's copy winit. And instead it will be SDL host. I'll put a 2 in there because why not? Assume that it wants the egui context like everyone else. So we have to add that. New file, sdl2 host.rs. Go back to main and add it as a module here. Way. All right. So initially we just need a struct and an impl abstract window for the struct. SDL2, right? And then this line. So that gets imported from the crate. Those are all the things we need to implement. Is egui like EGL? What's EGL? I don't know what EGL is. EGL. It's an interface between Chronos rendering APIs such as OpenGL, OpenGL ES, and OpenVG, and the underlying native platform windowing system. Kind of sounds like wgpu, actually. The main thing you do GL on Linux? Is it? Do you mean OpenGL ES? I never heard of EGL specifically. Or you can have my cookies. What? I don't know. Why did it redirect me? Yeah, I don't think I've ever used this. Huh. Interesting. So no, egui is not like EGL. Um, egui is literally a graphical user interface on top of whatever you want. So it looks like this. An immediate mode GUI library written in Rust. So it generates geometry like triangles and textures, and it says whatever you're using to draw graphics, draw this. And it's these elements, the widgets. egui is all about widgets, and it's wgpu that I'm putting under egui. wgpu is taking those triangles and textures and drawing them on the screen. Now that's more like your EGL, I think. wgpu. It's the abstraction around the graphics library. So how do I show this? Like when we say create surface and we want a surface, that surface type is a wgpu surface. That implies that all the windowing layers have to support wgpu in some way. And the connection there so far has been through a raw handle. So the create surface in wgpu. How do I show this? The window for winit's window type, as long as it implements this trait raw window handle has a raw window handle, then when you create a surface through wgpu, you can connect to the window that winit provides. So same thing for full tick. I go to full tick, and I go to its create surface. As long as its window type, which is a single window, as long as its single window has an implementation for raw window handle, that'll be here somewhere. Don't see it. It might be handled by a trait. Oh no, is it? No, that's its custom raw handle type. Somewhere there's like raw window handle support. I think I saw it actually. This one, this raw window handle feature. I guess it's just pulled in. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works in full tick, but that's how egui. Sorry. That's how wgpu and the windowing system integrate. How did I get off? I got off track, right? We're talking about egui. Sorry, I got off track. 99% of Linux 3D uses EGL. That's weird because I've never used EGL. I just go straight to OpenGL, like the Mesa driver. If you implement EGL, you have the world in your oyster for eternity. So it sounds like wgpu, really. OpenGL 1? You mean the fixed pipeline stuff? See ya, Gadam. You have a nice day too. Gadam has to leave. That means I have to work soon as well. WGPU is analogous to OpenGL. It's a graphics API. What isn't that what we were seeing EGL also is? Looks like EGL is also an interface to OpenGL. Sounds like a lot like WGPU. Still need EGL or GLX to create the OpenGL context. What do you mean you still need it? WGPL creates the context for me. If that, you're saying maybe underneath there has to be something that created context? Yes. So I think WGPU calls them adapters. So where do I do all that stuff? In this new, I think I do a new inner, and then I set up WGPU init, and I create a surface. No, surface is independent of adapter, right? Here we have to enumerate adapters, and we have to like pick one. Like when I actually run this, you see that I got an adapter for GL. So in WGPU, there's an adapter. This adapters object represents OpenGL, and it's getting the context from that. You don't think WGPU would use OpenGL since it doesn't have OpenGL? No, it does. It's this adapter. GL. That's literally saying that WGPU is using OpenGL adapter. We could also pick Vulkan. I think my virtual machine supports Vulkan, and if I were to run this on my Mac like directly, I get Metal. And if I ran this on Windows, I get a choice between OpenGL, Vulkan, and DirectX or Direct3D, right? I mean, when you use OpenGL unrelated to WebGPU, before you can use it, you need to create a context and make it current, which is done by EGL GLX. Oh, is that what it means? So it's that integration between the window manager and the graphics library, giving it the, what was it? I see what you mean. I don't know. This makes it seem like it's more than that, though. Work is already pinging me. What does work want? Aw, my boss is sick. Poor guy. He wants me to cover for something. Okay. EGL handles the buffer bindings and synchronizations and stuff? Okay. I think I've used GLX in the past, so you're saying EGL is a substitute for GLX. You mean you associate OpenGL with an OS window, and that's done by EGL. Okay. Maybe I've been using EGL and I just didn't know it. If I'm using GLX, is that the same as EGL or an alternative to it? I think GLX is what I've been using. I don't remember. Ah, got a bug in my keyboard. Get out of there. All right. Anyway, we're working on this, right? So if I fix all the other errors first, though, why do I have an error here? Because there is no new. Okay, so I wanted to have an impl that has a new of some kind that does this. So let's add that. Impl SDL2 window. Import RC. Import anyhow. Use anyhow. Wait, is this wrong? Why does it say inline type alias? Okay. What is up with this? Why does it say inline type alias? What is the actual type? Ow. Oh, maybe it's just complaining because I'm not actually returning it. So I would say like okay for now, right? Well, I have to make a self. Is empty. Okay, that's all it was. Yeah, bug, a real bug. It fell right next to the PCB. Forgot you can use OpenGL ES as a backend with wgpu though. Mine just says GL, so I don't know what GL means. OpenGL or OpenGL ES, I don't know. GLX is an OpenGL Windows System API for X11. EGL is a platform agnostic OpenGL GLES Windows System API. Though Windows System is the best term to describe that role that both GLX and EGL play, EGL's functionality is more broad than servicing programs. Target. So yeah, okay, that's a good description. Yeah, I'm on a Mac Studio, so that information is currently hiding in the OS command. I guess Mac Studio is not specific because there's both M1 and M2 Mac Studios now, right? Yeah, I got an old M1 Mac Studio. All right. So we got to implement these to-dos, right? Although like we can test now that I can run SDL2. That should work, right? Or did I add that? Let's see if it works. Yep, panic. Not yet implemented. Not yet implemented on line 17. So the first thing we'll hit is this. We need to be able to create a surface with SDL. So I think the only reason that I thought it would be okay to use SDL2 is that close this stuff. Maybe it's time to start over with tabs. Maybe not yet. Don't really though. And this is a good one. This is where I wanted to search. There was like if I did an wgpu, there was an integration layer for it. I thought. Was it under SDL2? That's OpenGL specific. Maybe if I put wgpu in front. Or was it wgpu? We can find it through here. Oh, I think it was that SDL2. All we needed to do was support raw window handle. It was the SDL2 egui one that we're going to need later. Or was it that we were just going to do hand integrate like we did with Fulltick? I think it was here that we saw that it implements a raw window handle. Right, so that means if I just add to cargo toml SDL, SDL2 version 0.35, wow. That's quite a lot of iterations. wgpu has been updated since we started using it. Do I dare increment it? Not now. Okay, how do we create a surface? Maybe we'll cheat and look how winit did it. Abstract window, create surface. That had to be unsafe for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, so we have to have a window. So I guess we're going to be reading about SDL for a little bit. Okay, how do we create a window? Window, video subsystem, window. So we have to make a video subsystem, which means we need a context. Oh gosh, can I just copy this junk? I just want a window. How hard can it be? What's the type of window? It is of some type we don't know. Really? We'll figure it out from here. Okay, what's the type? It's type window. Very imaginative. Import window, SDL2, what do we think it is? Sys window, video window, I'm gonna guess video window. Did I guess correctly? Oh, look at that. So we should have a window now, but we'll soon crash when we get to here because he referenced to. Was there a reference here? Was it because it was behind because it was behind an RC? So we don't have that yet. See if I can get away with this. Okay, I think I need to enable a feature, right? I remember seeing that. An optional raw window handle. So how do we enable that? Mm-hmm. Don't know. I guess it's the same way we had to do it for one of the other libraries, right? Did I not have to do that for full tick? No. Oh, I had raw window handle 5, so maybe it's similar to that. So let's try version tools features. No, that you said the feature name was raw window handle, right? Didn't like that. Okay, what's the feature called? It says optional. Oh, features feature raw window handle. No, it's raw dash window dash handle, not underscores, dashes. There we go. Now we got rid of the red marker, and maybe this works now. Still doesn't work. Window cannot be has raw window handle. Perhaps 2 different versions of raw window handle are being used. Oh, it's a specific version. Enables version 0.4.2. Crap. Okay, so we need to downgrade to raw window handle 4.2. Yeah, I think it's defaulting to version 5. So we might not be able to integrate it into the same app if Voltic and WinIt don't support it. Well, what happens if I just pull it in by explicit version? 0.4.2, right? And we have an incompatibility. Man, it's getting cold. Just shut my window. All right, so here's the error. Get rid of that. Oh, that's the problem. I need dashes, not underscores. Okay, it's bugging me that I'm not using the latest. Okay, so but did this fix it? No, still doesn't. Create info with the same name found, required by a bound in create surface. Display handle is not satisfied. Something tells me that this has to do with the fact that this only supports 0.4 and then we're up to 0.5 and there's a breaking change there. So the answer might be that we don't support it, like especially if I look here and if I look at wgpu and if it tells me that it needs a specific version. of raw window handle. Yeah, so it needs 0.5. This one needs 0.4.2. They're not compatible with each other, right? Full tick was. Why? Let's look and see. Full tick. All right, full tick has an RWH05, which is the what I use to make it compatible. So the problem is wgpu and SDL are not using compatible versions of raw window handle. So can't use SDL2 right now. Unless someone's figured out a way to do that. Let's see, wgpu SDL2 raw window handle. See if someone's figured it out. Support raw window handle 0.5. It's an open issue? No, it's closed. How do they close it? Update raw window handle 0.5 in December? What? Oh, this is a different trait. Rust SDL2. There's two, or not a different trait, a different rate. Wait, are we looking at the same one? It is the same one. So, hold on, I don't understand then. Oh, this release is old. February 2022. They checked it in December, but they never made a release? Well, bummer. Okay, so they supported it, but they never made a release. Great. Why haven't they made a release in over a year? They fixed it, but they just never released it. I mean, I could just use their main line, right? Just check it out at Git, use it directly. Doesn't that kind of suck though, to like just close it? Oh yeah, we did it. It's closed. Depleted, but like, when are we gonna get it? When are we gonna get it indeed? Implemented. In this pull request. In master, which is unreleased now. Someone ever comment saying we need this now released? No, they're just thanking them. Okay, so I guess other people just like pull from main of SDL2. Why is there another issue? Oh, this is supported in the first place? Back in 2019, okay. So maybe I leave this to do until they actually release another, make another release. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do for now. So we'll keep the file around, but in main, I'm going to comment out the mod, and I'm going to comment out that. This is going to be a note. So SDL2 doesn't. Oh. SDL2 will support raw window handle 0.5 in its next release. But who knows when that will be, since it's been a year and a half since the last release. Revisit and revisit this if they ever make another release. Here we go. Guess it's because there are some breaking changes. Yeah, I looked at it like a couple weeks ago, and the big thing between 0.4 and 0.5, I guess, is 0.5 changed the like they broke the trait into two traits: raw window handle and raw display handle. And I guess before it was one trait, so like they're incompatible. The breaking change. That's why. That's why in in full tick they have two different features, right? RWH05 to support a different version, and who knows why wgpu is not backwards compatible with 0.4. It would be nice, right? We could just go back. And what was the other one? WNIT. WNIT. We'll open up another tab. WNIT. For raw window handle. Wow. I think it'd be here somewhere. A lot of stuff in there. Whoops. Did I close the tab by accident? I did. Raw window handle. There it is. Okay, they don't. WNIT doesn't go back to 0.4 either. So I would have run into two problems. Both wgpu and WNIT can't go back to 0.4. I guess unless I go back to an older version of WNIT. So full take can go back. WNIT and wgpu can't go back, and SDL hasn't moved forward yet. How would I do this myself? I don't know. I'd have to look and see how raw window handle is implemented. Do I really want to do that? I guess if I really wanted SDL, I'd look into cloning their Git repo rather than picking up their released crate, and then we build it ourselves. Or pick up the SDL and like put an adapter between over it that supports raw window handle 0.5 by like adapting the old trait to the new trait somehow. I don't even know how you do that. So sure, we'll keep that around. Yeah, I gotta head off to work now. We'll pull in SDL2 even though we don't use it. What does Cargo end up doing with it if nothing uses it? Does it just get like optimized out? I don't know. Okay, while I'm looking for people to raid, I'm doing cube explosions just to distract you. Okay, let's go raid Tim. Look at these cubes. Look at these cubes. You are mesmerized by the cubes being exploded. Oh, there's a bug. If I drag from off screen on screen, was it if I add and then drag? How did I get that to happen? Anyway, I gotta go to work. See you guys tomorrow. We'll watch Tim instead. Okay, bye.